Demystify Selling with Microsoft. And I am looking forward to today because I wanted to share my insights and what I came away from RSA with. So before we get started with that, though, I'd love to hear where you're watching from and any questions you might have, whether it be around RSA or in Microsoft in general. So feel free to drop those comments or questions in LinkedIn or YouTube, wherever you're watching from, and we'll try and answer them. So for me, the conference, it was really the theme of the conference is where I wanted to start. And the theme of the conference was the art of the possible. So that was, you saw that, around the show everywhere is the art of the possible. And for me, it was really about, and the overarching message was about AI and automation. And when it comes to security, I don't think it's any surprise that, our customers are dealing with, domestic threats. They're dealing with insider threats, international threats, nation state threats, and the volume of threats and the sheer amount of attacks that they're having to address each and every day is just mind boggling. And without AI and automation, there's no world where we, as the end consumers and the partners that are trying to support our customers, are going to be successful without leveraging AI and automation. So for me, that was the theme of the conference. But what really stood out, and I'll start with Microsoft and Copilot for security. Microsoft obviously sees the value of this. Microsoft is investing heavily in the Copilot story and specifically Copilot for security, as are a lot of other partners out there, a lot of other vendors or suppliers in the security stack, which is great. And I think it's the right thing. I think it's the thing we all need to be doing. But what was really interesting to me is going around and hearing from these different partners and these different suppliers in terms of how they're leveraging AI and how they're leveraging automation. And it was so, there was such a wide variety of answers, not because they're doing different things, obviously doing different things, but just how they approach the conversation. And I would listen to some partners and they would be talking about it from the speeds and the feeds and from the large language models or LLMs that they're using and the cool ways they're automating things and really being very tactical, but not really focusing on, I think, where the real differentiator happens, which is the conversation to the leader, the conversation to the founder of the business, the leaders running the business. There were these real tactical conversations, and part of that may be due to the audience, but I think from my perspective, it was a missed opportunity by a lot of partners. And depending on, and Microsoft, I think, does a good job of this, but still talking about it at the product level can be challenging, or it can be sort of our safe place to go. So overall, I thought that the theme of the conference, the art of the possible, really was relevant. It really was the right thing for us to be talking about and thinking about, and that it all leverages around AI and automation. So I think that for us as Microsoft partners, one of the takeaways is that we really have to think about our story and how we are integrating AI and automation in service of protecting our customers. Are we telling that story really well? Are we clear on that? Are we talking to our customers at a level that makes sense for who we're talking to? Obviously, when you're talking to the people that are, the speeds and feeds may very well be the right thing to talk about. But I think overall, the messaging of how we're helping customers really needs to land at an executive level. How am I helping you move your business forward, helping you protect your identities, protect your data, helping you sleep better at night, helping you really know that you can show up and focus on your mission, not having to spend more energy than is necessary on protecting those identities, that data, your intellectual property, etc. So that was the first thing, the theme of the conference. But the next thing that hit me, and this was on day one, you pick up your badge, you hit the stairs to walk down into the Moscone Center. And if you haven't been to the Moscone Center, it's a massive conference center. There's an east wing, a west wing, a north wing, a south wing. And you look down over the conference, and it is a sea of partners, or a sea of booths, and a sea of people. And it was really fascinating to me just to see the sheer size and number of booths. There had to be hundreds and hundreds of booths representing thousands and thousands of products. So for me, that was fascinating. And Microsoft had a massive presence there, not only at the at the Moscone Center in the conference center itself, but just down the road a little bit at the Palace Hotel. They had a entire floor dedicated to Copilot and to delivering the Copilot message and to support meeting with partners. So just the sheer size and volume of the conference was impressive to start with. But what struck me as I was going through all of the different areas, or the different expo areas, was the number of competitive products that are out there, that when I look at what we bring to the table as Microsoft partners, the ability for us to have such a powerful message around bringing together the security story, to collapsing dozens and dozens of products into a single security platform. So, I think back, 5, 7 years ago, when I was out there working in the partner community with you, selling, and I was focused on EMS. And at that time, enterprise mobility plus security, and the story was really about removing competitive products. And there was a big push by Microsoft and by the partner community to get EMS, the enterprise mobility security platform, the previous name of the security platform, out there. But what I realize is that hasn't changed. There is still a massive opportunity for partners, for Microsoft partners, to focus on competitive displacement, to focus on streamlining and simplifying the security story. I think that there is just a monumental opportunity for us to continue with that message of streamlining how you go and how you protect your identities, how you're protecting your data, how you're protecting your business process, your intellectual property. There's just, again, thousands of products out there. Vendors are promoting these individual point solutions. And what's really interesting to me is that the number of partners that would lead with, and we integrate with Microsoft, and we work with the Microsoft platform, and in some cases, they are absolutely filling a void in the Microsoft security stack. They're doing things in a unique way, or that are unique to a business process, and they absolutely are critical to the overall success of the ecosystem. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute, but I think that the thing that struck me most is that there are still a lot of people out there promoting products that are direct competitors to our Defender stack, to the Purview stack, to all the different components within the Microsoft security ecosystem. So I would not hesitate for a second to build my strategy around competitive displacement, around simplification of the security stack inside of a customer. I think that there's just a phenomenal opportunity to get clear on that, which brings me to my next point. The next thing that really stood out for me inside or in these conversations, and that was the messaging. And I wrote briefly about this yesterday on LinkedIn, but if I heard one presentation, I heard 1,000. And by the end of the first day, I have to say, even I was confused in terms of who did what and how they did it. And wait, how are you different than that person? There was just so much, um, there was so little clarity in the messaging, and so little of the messaging was unique and interesting and different. And it really stood out. I found that fascinating that, I could have plugged one story for another story for another story for another story. It was just so interesting and so repetitive. And, by the end of the day, it was getting a little boring, but you really, as a partner, as a Microsoft partner, you have to find a way to stand out. You have to find a message in this security ecosystem that stands out. That you're doing something differently, you're doing something unique, you're bringing a relevant and different approach. Even when you're using the Microsoft stack, you're using the Defender portfolio, you know, you still need to find a way to deliver a message that's unique to you, that's unique to how you approach the problem, or how that the customer is going to benefit, the unique benefits that they're going to get. So it was really interesting. And obviously, to be fair, I mean, there's a lot of different vendors, and everyone's trying to get everyone's attention really quickly. So but for me, it just stood out that a lot of the messaging out there is very bland. It's very me too oriented. Um, and so I would encourage Microsoft partners to really double down on your messaging. And that goes not only for when you're speaking to your customers, but when you're speaking to Microsoft as well. We really need to be clear on how we are talking to Microsoft, and making sure that the unique part or the unique attribute of our business, of how we approach the market, of the value we bring is demonstrated, is heard. So that's my challenge to you as a Microsoft partner, and it's one of the things I took away from the RSA conference. Just was, there is still a ton of partners out there pushing their products, and you have to find a way to stand out from the herd. So with that, I'll pivot to my last takeaway, which is marketplace. So the conference itself, again, you have to visualize, if you weren't there, there was hundreds and hundreds of booths out there. And it was really interesting to hear those partners that do integrate with Microsoft, or are part of the Microsoft ecosystem. And I would always ask, are you on Marketplace? And to be fair, again, I was probably talking to either someone in marketing or some sales executive that may not have understood the whole Microsoft ecosystem. But a lot of times I would get either no, or I'm not sure, or I'll have to get back to you on that. And for me, I think that's a missed opportunity. I think that I look at Marketplace as one of the best or first places our customers are going to go to find solutions to their problem. So leveraging the Marketplace is critical. And it was just surprising to me how few partners outside of the Microsoft booth, obviously, that didn't either didn't know what I was talking about, or weren't sure, or just flat out said no. So to me, that was really kind of interesting. And I think as buyer journeys change and buyers become more savvy in terms of how to use marketplaces, and there's no, of the hyperscalers, they're all doing it. They all have marketplaces, and Microsoft is no different in that, the Microsoft marketplace, the Azure marketplace, or App Source are places where customers are going to find solutions to these problems. So for those partners that were part of RSA or just are part of the ecosystem, marketplace is not an option anymore, in my opinion. It is a requirement. It's something you need to invest in. And again, although yes, there's lots of offers on marketplace, it was shocking to me that of the hundreds and hundreds of booths that were out there, and the dozens of people I talked to, that how few of them really leveraged that. So that's my final takeaway, is that I think that marketplace has a lot of room to grow in the partnerships ecosystem. I think that even as a supplier or vendor, when you are considering yourself to be part of that ecosystem, marketplace is a must. So with that, I'll just pause and see if we have any questions here. So got a question from a LinkedIn user, a word that gives pause. Yeah, it's interesting. The integrate is such an interesting term, and I didn't deep dive on that too much with individual vendors, but the concept of integrating with the Microsoft stack, I think there can be a lot of value, and especially when you think about security and having your product integrate with the Microsoft stack, such as Sentinel. If what you do is unique and something that Microsoft may not be doing today, and your ability to ingest or send that information to Sentinel and let Sentinel ingest that information, it's absolutely a unique benefit, and it serves the Microsoft community, it serves your customer, and it serves you as a partner. So I think the concept of truly being able to integrate, or true integration, is critically important. So thanks for that question or that comment, whoever put that out there, much appreciated. And I am going to wrap up our discussion here. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon.